Hi. So if you're a watcher of previous videos, then you would know that I work as a professional writer. My work as a professional writer allows me to write all sorts of stuff like ebooks, blog articles for companies, company profiles, SEO articles, social media copy, YouTube scripts, and all of that. In fact, I talked in an earlier video about how much I'm able to write within a day. If you haven't watched that video yet, please do watch it after you watch this video. And while I do love my job, I have to admit that it can get boring a lot of the time, especially when you're writing the same things over and over again. I'll get clients who ask me to write about the same topics, and so I have to find a way to creatively approach them from a different angle so that it's not just the same kind of content over and over again. However, it can still feel really repetitive a lot of the time, and writing can feel really boring. And during those days, it can be really hard to find the motivation to actually do actual work. However, the one thing that you have to know about being productive is that you can't always rely on motivation for you to get work done. A lot of the time, people will use motivation and rely on it too much in order for them to be productive. It gets to the point where motivation becomes the middleman between having a goal and actually producing some kind of output, and that can be very bad because motivation isn't always going to be there. Eventually, you have to learn to stick to your routines and your habits in order for you to eliminate the need for motivation in order for you to get something done. If you want me to talk more about how motivation is a myth for productivity, please do comment down below. I may talk about it in a future video. But for now, we can talk about hacks on how we can stay motivated and how we can make the work process a lot more fun so we can stay productive. I always say that in order for a work process to be truly productive, it also has to be sustainable. And there are many factors that can affect the sustainability of your productivity system. The first of which is the ergonomics and the design of your actual workspace. You need to have a workspace that's thoughtfully designed and that maximizes your potential and your work output. The next is you need to have solid routines and habits in place that allow you to stay productive even when you're not motivated to work. When you have solid habits and routines, it allows you to sustain your output for longer periods of time. But what we're going to talk about today is how to make your work process more fun and more enjoyable. And that brings me to one tool that I use to make my work process fun every single day, and that's my mechanical keyboard. Now, the one question that I want to answer right away is, do I as a writer need a mechanical keyboard to do my work? The answer is no. You don't need a mechanical keyboard. However, I will make an argument that for my personal work process, I can benefit so much more from having a mechanical keyboard than just a typical membrane keyboard that everyone's used to having. Keep in mind that as a writer, the keyboard is where I rest my hands for the majority of the day. As I'm typing thousands upon thousands of words every day, I want to make the typing experience as fun and as enjoyable as possible so that I'm able to sustain that workload throughout the entire day. And the truth is, mechanical keyboards just make typing a lot more fun. The personal mechanical keyboard that I have, and it's the only one that I have so far, it's the Keychron K6. The Keychron K6 is a 65% mechanical keyboard. It comes with an aluminum frame and you get to choose between a brown, red, or blue Gateron switches. I personally have the brown Gateron switches and we'll get into the differences between these switches later on. You can also choose between having it hot swappable and non-hot swappable. Essentially, a hot swappable keyboard means you get to change your switches later on if you ever choose to do so. Now, why are mechanical keyboards so much fun? First, we might need to differentiate a membrane keyboard and a mechanical keyboard. For the most part, membrane keyboards are still a lot more popular these days, and there's a reason for that. They're a lot cheaper to produce, and that means that they're a lot cheaper to buy for consumers as well. Membrane keyboards are made with rubber membranes that lie underneath the actual keycaps, and then they send electric signals to a unified circuit underneath that board. Again, they tend to be cheaper, and they also tend to be a lot quieter. A mechanical keyboard, as its name implies, is a keyboard that's made out of mechanical parts. Stems, springs, and switches are all mechanical parts that send individual signals for each key of the computer. Now, depending on the kind of switch that you have, it can generate either a different kind of sound or a different kind of typing experience. Typically, there are three different major types of keyboards. They are the clicky, linear, and tactile key switches. Clicky switches have a thin, clicky sound. They also require a harder key press in order for a stroke to be registered. Linear switches are softer. You don't have to press them as hard in order for the keystroke to be registered, and they also tend to have a softer, boxier sound. This is often the preferred switch for gamers because you don't have to apply as much pressure onto a key in order for it to be registered. And then there are tactile switches, which is like the nice medium in between a clicky and a linear switch. So it still has a little of that tactile feedback that you get from a clicky switch, but it's not as loud and it's a little softer to press on. If you happen to be a keyboard enthusiast, comment down below if you're team clicky, linear, or you're tactile. Ultimately, the main reason why mechanical keyboards are so fun is because of how customizable they are. Whenever you buy a mechanical keyboard, you have the option of actually modifying that keyboard to suit your own personality and your own personal typing preferences. There are 4 aspects of the customizability of a mechanical keyboard. First, there is functionality. Depending on the keyboard you buy, you can get one with different kinds of layouts. For example, I have the one that has a 65% keyboard. It has 68 keys in total. However, there are also other popular variations like a 60% keyboard, which is a lot smaller than this one. There are 75% keyboards which have a function row on the top, and then there are even bigger ones than that. Next, you also get to customize the tactile feedback that you get from the keyboard. If you're the type of person who really wants to feel every single keystroke that you make on the keyboard, then you might prefer the clicky switches. But if you're someone who likes a softer and quieter typing experience, you can get either the linear or the tactile key switches. Keyboards also come with lighting these days, which makes it really convenient to type while you're working in the dark. The Keychron K6 that I have right now actually comes with RGB lighting, although I only typically set it to just one color, either white or orange. Mechanical keyboards can come in many different types of materials. The cheaper ones are housed in pure plastic. The Keychron that I have right now has an aluminum frame, although the insides are plastic. And there are some more really expensive keyboards out there that are made out of pure aluminum or other more precious metals. Of course, there are also other features that are very unique to certain boards, like Bluetooth connectivity, wired or wireless connectivity, whether or not the keyboard has a kickstand. There's something for everyone. The next aspect of a mechanical keyboard's customizability is its aesthetics. With regards to how your keyboard looks, you can experiment with many different keycaps that are so easy and convenient to just replace. It's a great way of making you feel like you have a new item on your desk when really you just changed the keycaps of your keyboard. Also, again, a lot of keyboards these days come with RGB backlighting, and there are some keyboards out there that have some really unique shapes like the iQnix offerings that I'm going to show here. And lastly, but most importantly, you get to customize the sound that your keyboard makes. To tell you the truth, that's my personal draw to mechanical keyboards. I just love the sound that it makes whenever I'm typing, especially when I'm in the zone and I'm typing really fast. It's just a very different kind of satisfaction. There are many variables that go into determining what kind of sound the keyboard will produce. It's not just the switches. You also have to consider the keycaps that you're using, the profiles of your keycaps, whether or not there's foam inside your keyboard. At the end of the day, hearing your keyboard make all of those nice tactile sounds, getting that tactile feel and the touch of every single tap of your finger, having a keyboard that's aesthetically pleasing, that's a lot of fun to look at, they all factor into making the typing and writing experiences just a lot more fun. And I am a firm believer in everyone always trying to make the work process as fun as possible. Having fun while you work will allow you to be more productive because it minimizes the stress and the friction of you actually starting on getting to work. Like every day, I get so excited to write because of my keyboard. And every time I hear those sounds whenever I type, it gives me such enjoyment that it makes me want to write even more. So yeah, to sum it all up, do you need a mechanical keyboard to be productive? No, you don't. A membrane keyboard will get the job done just as efficiently, but is it a lot more fun to have a mechanical keyboard? Hells yes. Right now, I promised my girlfriend that I wouldn't buy a new mechanical keyboard yet, and it's true, I'm not gonna buy one yet because I'm pretty happy with the one I have now, but eventually in the future I'm thinking about building my own mechanical keyboard from scratch, and I'm curious to see how that will end up looking like. So yeah, that just about does it for this video. If you want more content like this, please do comment down below. Don't forget to click like on this video and subscribe to my channel. It really helps because I'm new and I'm still trying to get my content to more people out there. So yeah, hope you stay safe and I'll see you around soon.